Benito Mussolini was an authoritative leader who dictated Italy from 1922 to 1943. During Italy's fascist stage in history, his unique character brought ambition, charisma, and authoritarianism that gave the Italian people hope to gain power. Also, like his fellow dictators, Mussolini's reign featured magnificent speeches, severe nationalism, and control over his nation. Mussolini's dictatorship relied on numerous propagandas and political success and maneuvering that gave the Italian population a vision of what the future powerhouse nation would look like under Mussolini's reign. Our documentary will explore Mussolini's rise to power, his reign, and lastly, his downfall, in which all impacted Italy's history and the world. In this source, Mussolini makes a hand gesture to signal to the crowd his face, in which draws eye contact from the audience. This reinforces the idea of Mussolini being a powerful authoritarian figure and demonstrates to the people in the crowd the type of power he possesses. Further, the people's reactions to this in this source highlight how much of a dictator Mussolini can be, as he stands tall over all the others to set himself as the person with ultimate power. Source 2. As a young man, Mussolini initially experimented with socialism, but soon created his own ideology, fascism. Fascism, as adopted by Nazi Germany, is defined by militarism, nationalism, dictatorship, suppression of freedoms, and often racial supremacy. In this case, Mussolini parroted much of Hitler's thinking, pledging to make Italy great again. Mussolini idolized the Roman Empire and the superiority of the Italian people, promising to the return of Italy's glories past. This ideology is similar to Hitler's promise to Germany, in which is destroying the Jews and to assert the dominance of the Aryan master race. It can be argued that Hitler and Mussolini fed off each other's ideologies. This is evident in the facts about the true nature of the effects of Mussolini. Source 3. In the source, after the election, Mussolini closed opposition newspapers and banned public protest meetings. He declared all political parties a legal concept for his own fascist party. He outlawed labour unions and strikes. He also established a political force, the Organisation for Vigilance and Repression of Fascism. This source indicates how Mussolini's early policies were so influential. It also indicates how Mussolini joined his power and the presidential election through the extermination of the opposition party. Mussolini used many different methods to sway the Italians his way, including shutting down the media oppositions, banning protests. Through this source, it is clear that Mussolini was incredibly successful with his policies in order to gain power and control his power. Source 4. During Mussolini's rule over Italy, he was known as Il Duce, meaning ruler, and he had numerous statues and photos, like this one, put up around Italy to maintain control. He projected these statues and photos, as can be seen in the image, to project him as a strong and omnipotent ruler that could maintain and control and contribute to the new fascist society in Italy. These images of Mussolini further spread fear across Italy, as if a person were to vandalize this image, that person would be subject to severe punishment, such as imprisonment, torture, or in extreme cases, public execution. This allowed Mussolini to maintain his power over the Italian nation, as people were scared to rebel against him in the fear that they would be killed. Source 5. Mussolini reorganized Italy from top to bottom. He banned all rival political parties, won the loyalty of the Catholic Church, demanded all media, fought through the Depression, and recognized the education system. In the new system, children aged 8 to 18 were enrolled in equivalents of the Hitler Youth, with ancient Rome being glorified. Men were trained as the next generations of warriors, and women as mothers of said warriors. And throughout these observations we can conclude that Mussolini was in fact an extremely brave leader, as he used his policies to gain power like his fellow dictators. This is Source 6, a survivor testimony.
It was one thing after another. It went from bad to worse until eventually I started being deported. Fortunately, my father had some money that we could take with us when we had to escape from Rome. Everybody, including my father, had to leave business and all, because in 1943, when Badoglio, General Badoglio, made a separate peace with the Allies, then the Germans came to Rome and the raids began, and Jews were being shot in the streets or raided or picked up, including my relatives. The day before the raids started, my father decided that we had to leave.
Source 7. During 1943, an English tramp died of poisoning in the streets of London. Using the body, a group of English officers devised what they called Operation Mincemeat. The corpse was dressed up as the fictitious Captain William Martin of the Royal Marines. His body was dumped off the coast of Spain with forged battle plans indicating the Allies were going to attack Greece and Sardinia, with an attack on Sicily merely being a feint. The supposedly neutral Spanish government handed the plans over to Germany, before returning to the originals to the Allies. The Germans believed everything they read. Troops were moved to Greece and Sardinia, with Sicily receiving none. The Allies easily captured the poorly defended island before moving north to liberate all Italy from the Axis powers. The operation was a resounding success, with Mussolini being forced out of the country. He did briefly return as a Nazi puppet, but was captured and executed. So ended the life and reign of Benito Mussolini, father of fascism. Source 8. On the 28th of April 1945, Mussolini's dream of fascist Italy came to a crumbling halt. The 61-year-old Italian dictator was executed in the small town of Giuliano di Mezzagra. After his execution took place, Mussolini's mutilated body was displayed in the middle of the town square, hung upside down from a metal grinder in front of the anti-fascist crowd. His mutilated body provided much relievement to the Italian people, as the Italian people hated Mussolini. As can be seen in the image, Mussolini's body had been kicked and battered by the crowd, representing the severe hatred for Mussolini. His body had been hung up to celebrate and symbolize the end of the Second World War with the Italian people. Source 9. Mussolini was an extremely influential figure who both influenced Italy and the whole world, as seen through his rise and fall from power from 1922 to 1943. He not only maintained Italy, but made many changes with vast impacts. This includes the fact he created the first ever fascist regime. As Mussolini became a dictator, he quickly established his way of power, which we now know as fascism. This was the first ever depiction of it. And while fascist rules changed from society to society, he inspired many different leaders worldwide in his way of ruling, no matter how terrible and possible evil that it was. In conclusion, Mussolini was an exceptionally influenced political leader who made drastic changes both within his country and countries worldwide. During his rise to power, he used a multitude of beneficial methods in order to inspire his country into following him. However, while he brought a whole new aspect of politics around, it does make one question whether the implications of fascism are truly sustainable method of ruling, or whether it will always end up in an open rebellion of upspring from the citizens.